We're at 7 o'clock, and we'll call the meeting to order. Those of you that are able, if you could stand with us and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, it's exciting that all of you joined us this evening for my very first mayor's meeting. So I'm excited to be here and to actually be more than mayor for a day. So it looks like hopefully you're going to get to see me for another 4 years. And I see some of our new council members is going to be coming on board as well in the audience. And thanks. Congratulations on your wins, and look forward to working with everyone. I guess the first order of business here itself is to call for the roll. Madam Clerk.
Mayor Pape.
Here.
Councilmember DeBold.
Here.
Councilmember Hands.
Here.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Here.
Councilmember Naff.
Here.
Councilmember Neal.
Here.
Councilmember Silvers.
Here.
Councilmember Yodridge.
Here.
Okay, thank you. The first item of business is public items itself, and we have a sign-up sheet for those of you. I do have one person currently listed on the sheet. Members of the public are encouraged to use this time to make comments about matters that do not appear on the agenda. Comments about items on the regular agenda will be taken as each item is considered. Please note that individuals making comments have a limit of 5 minutes. Of course, according to my rules of procedure, we reserve the right to cut off any slanderous type comments. The first person that has currently signed up is Michael Gizicki. Gizicki. Oh, and we worked on that, and I already mispronounced it. Sir, could you come to the podium and state your name and give us your address? And if you could come to the podium here in the center. And as our protocol is, if you would just state your name and your address.
My name is Michael Gizicki. I live at 9701 West 56th Terrace in Merriam.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Oh,
What would you like to speak to us about tonight, Mr.?
you want to know it right now? Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
I have had a problem with my neighbor for over 20 years with his residential cleanup of his own property. I am inspired by this television show these days that I'm finding out that there's other people like this, and it's called a hoarder. This man, to my opinion, is a real hoarder, and he just does not know how to let go or when to let go. I've had the codes enforcement people out there. They've done a lot of things that he has had to do, but in my opinion, he's not done yet. Right now, we're getting at a point where even just the opening of his garage door, which he can't shut him half the time because he got so much crap in his belonging, okay, that it's really frustrating for myself to see that. And like I say, this has been going on for 20 plus years. And with this TV show that's going on, they do have codes enforcement people that seem to tell the offender, clean up or whatever needs to be done, you get it cleaned up. I myself, I don't want to hear or see his junk again. In my opinion, it's junk. It really frustrates the hell out of me that I take care of my property, and it just behooves me that this guy does think, in my opinion, this that this is a big joke, because the codes enforcement have been out there numbers of times, from minding, they have made him clean up his act, but he still has a little bit left to go. I don't know if he's proud of the situation where he can't let things go, or he just wants to get insulting by not cleaning it up. My last venture with my neighbor was that he had beer cans on his fence. Okay, the beer cans, he wanted to make a joke. Again, a joke out of trash. Put it on his post that he made out of nylon tape, or nylon. He didn't spend a whole lot of money in improving his property. Okay, you could buy his improvement on his fence with probably spending less than $10 for his improvement, which, in my opinion, his fence looks like hell, his driveway looks like hell, his garage, when it's open, I can still see it. It's crap, 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 in my opinion. And I really want to see this thing over with. I've been fighting with this guy for, like I say, 20 plus years. And him and I have gotten to a point where we're not talking to each other. He has actually got the police on me. 2 of the squad cars came to, try to explain his side of the story. I'm trying to explain my side of the story. I got in trouble with the law because I pushed some of his crap that he was leaning over my fence, pushed it back, pushed it down into his yard. That's when the 2 police officers came up and gave me a little bit of hell.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Mr. Guzecki. It sounds like you have spoken to our staff, our community development director, Mr. Dyer, and our police chief, Chief McLaughlin, about this situation. They're both in the audience here today, and I'm sure they've both heard your complaint here, and if there's anything else that the city could do, obviously they'll look into that. But we are limited in a certain capacity to things that go on inside the house.
Yeah,
So,
you don't need to go inside the house.
Well, with the doors being open, I know that was one of your
A
complaints.
man's home
but,
is his castle.
Right.
He
and
doesn't
so-
want anybody in the house.
Well,
Right?
yeah, that's correct.
It's the outside of the house that's offensive. And he doesn't seem to want to put priority on the outside. He just doesn't seem to care.
Well, we'll have our staff check into that and see if there's,
Well, I know-
again, if
I
there's
know,
anything we
Bob,
can
I
do,
know-
we'll be sure to do it. But
I know,
we are
Bob.
limited, I say, to a certain extent of what our
Okay,
the
I know.
capacity of the things that we can do.
I know Bob, I know Dave.
Yeah.
Dave hung up on me 3 times because I'm venting. If that's the kind of cooperation that you get from codes enforcement, what good is it? I mean, just, I'm a lover of the city of Merriam. I've invested my money into the city of Merriam. I feel like I want to be on the winning team. In this crap that I'm seeing with my neighbor next door, and also I'll get into more of the story. There's another neighbor that I'm having a lot of problems with. Okay, we don't have a friendly corner at 56 Terrace and Knox.
Well, yeah, again, at this point, we're looking into it. I would suggest that you reach out to both Director Dyer is in charge of, those two gentlemen you talked about earlier.
We've
And-
talked.
And again, some of the frustration might be in the sense that there's only so much that the city can do. And so it may not meet what, you'd
I
like to
mean-
see done, but we
mean,
are hampered by what the code
Dave
allows.
and I got
so.
in an argument about the beer cans. About it, okay, the beer cans, they could be, what are they, folk art? I mean, is he doing it just for, I don't know, just to improve the place? Number one, I think beer cans on the fences, I didn't even drink the beer, and the beer cans are on my post of the fence. Says Mike's Beer on it.
Okay.
Okay, but even at that, I'm not a big beer drinker, but I will say that it's offensive that Dave hung up on me 3 times in this skirmish. Okay.
Well, I hear your frustration, and like I say, we will be glad to look into it, so.
Well, I really hope you get somebody to look into it that really has the gumption to get something done. Because again, this has gone on over 20 years, the same thing over and over again. And it's beginning to happen again. I don't know if the crap that is in his garage has got little feet on it, but it just happens to move around.
Okay, again, and again, I appreciate it. I let you go a little over our 5 minutes, but we do have a 5-minute limitation
I know, I
on public
understand.
comments itself at this point, and I've kind of let you go a little bit longer than that, so feel free to come back again next month and give us an update if you would.
Well, I'd like to speak to somebody personally.
Yeah.
Is that a possibility? Or do you
Not
all
necessarily.
hide behind your offices and you?
No, I would suggest you call the city at 322-5500, or maybe we can give you a card. But call and try to make an appointment so that those individuals might be available to speak with you.
I've talked to you a couple of times on the phone.
I'm not Bob, we've talked many times.
Okay, not Brian, I'm sorry. Sorry, I got my Bob's.
Okay, no,
Okay,
and I know you've talked to Bob a lot as well, I believe the beer cans are gone, aren't
it's what?
they? The beer cans are gone, aren't they?
They are gone, but he got in an argument with me
Bob went over there.
that
Bob went over there.
it's decorative. It's decorative. And he had to check,
Got the beer cans taken.
he had to check with the books to see if it was something that he can prosecute about.
Bob took care of it though, didn't he?
Pardon?
Bob took care of the beer cans.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I would really like to talk to somebody. Not a crowd, just somebody, and hold them with a little bit of responsibility, because nobody seems to care. It's not codes enforcement, that's not living up to, I would believe, a good person with Merriam standards is gonna say, hey, we gotta do something.
Mr. Dyer, do you have a card that you can give this gentleman?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gizuke. Mr. Dyer will give you a card, and you can reach out to him tomorrow. Thank you, sir. Okay. Okay, well, that was the only individual that we had currently listed on the public comment sheet, but is there anyone else in the audience that would like to come forward and has a comment that they'd like to make to the council? Please do so at this time. Don't all rush up here at once. Okay. Is that, all right. I guess we'll close out the public meeting then, the public comment section. The next section on our agenda is the consent agenda, and all items listed under the heading are considered to be routine by the city council and may be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which case that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separate. Is there anyone on the council that would like to have anything removed? I see nodding of heads no. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Hands, go ahead.
I move that the council approve consent agenda items 1 through 3.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Ms. Yadrich, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Councilmember DeVold.
Aye.
Councilmember Hands.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Nath.
Aye.
Councilmember Neal.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Yodrich.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Moving on, it looks like the next section is the mayor's report. And number one item under the mayor's report is my excitement to actually announce a vacancy for the Ward 4 that's coming up. That it would have happened no matter whether I had won the mayor's job or not, but we do have that. Mr. Engel, would you like to address that?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. The next item on the agenda is just the announcement of a Ward 4 vacancy per city code. When there is a vacancy for a council member ward spot, there's a process that we follow to fill that vacancy. That includes a advertisement, a 30-day notice for the public. And then at the conclusion of that 30 days, the city council has 30 days to fill that position by vote. So we are suggesting that today is the first noticing day. So on the 8th we will post that in our normal channels. I'm sure that it will get picked up by the Shawnee Mission Post and a few other locations that are out there. We will push it in our own social media and on our website. 30 days will expire for folks to enter their interest in the position by filling out a statement of intent, and some people submit a resume. There's a variety of different ways that folks go about it. But then we would on the next meeting after that, which would be December 13th, the new city council will actually swear in, and they will vote. They will interview and vote to fill that Ward 4 spot amongst whoever the interested candidates are from Ward 4. Those candidates need to live in Ward 4, need to be residents of Ward 4. In the past, we've, as part of the interview, we have sent out 3 questions that the councils at that particular time, which would be February of 17 and January of 19, were the last 2 times we did this, determined that there were really just 3 basic questions that would be asked during the interview process. Now, there's a follow-up, I think, that has occurred where somebody says, hey, you answered this particular question like this. Could you elaborate on that? But I think the idea was that most individuals that are volunteering to fill a vacancy in a ward position, they haven't campaigned. They generally don't really have the answer to a whole lot of a question. So to ask them some large, heady questions, they generally won't have the answers for that. So in the past, we've just asked the following questions. What do you think is the most important issue facing the city in the next 2 years? What skills or talents would you bring to the city council? And do you have any closing comments for the city council to consider? Again, these are questions that they would answer as part of the interview process, but again, they would also have a resume and a statement of intent or statement of interest that would be included in the packet, so you would have some background information on them. I'd be happy to answer any questions about that process. This is just a memo. It's just an update to the council.
Ms. Sands.
The only thing I'd like to add is that in the past, we have had the mayor actually ask the questions. The council remains quiet on the interview process.
Sure.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Engel? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Engel. Okay, it looks like number 2 is election of the council president. This would be for the remainder of my term, since I'm no longer council president. We do have a few more weeks left on this particular vacancy. Would you like to address that, Mr. Engel?
Sure. Next item on the agenda is the vacancy at the council president position. As Mayor mentioned, when Mayor Pape was elevated from council president to mayor, it created a vacancy in the council president position. Per city code, the council shall appoint someone amongst their ranks to fill the position of council president when a vacancy occurs. The vice president does not elevate per city code. So We don't have that's pretty clear in code. What is not clear necessarily is the process. So the process that we followed in the past and staff is recommending again is to use the process that we will use for the Ward 4 vacancy, which is essentially just a process of ballots to narrow down a list that could be, I suppose there could be 7 people on it, to get it down to a final 2 and then 1 preferred candidate moving forward as the council president. So we are prepared to, if that's the policy the council would like to follow, and again, that's staff's recommendation just because it's orderly, we are prepared to facilitate that process. So I guess my first question would be, are there any questions about that process? Second question being, are we okay using that process? Because the process is not spelled out in code.
Mr. Neal, go ahead.
Could you explain exactly sort of the process here?
Yeah, I apologize, sure. So the process that we would use, and as we've used in the past, is that either by self-nomination, meaning indication of interest, or nomination by one of your colleagues on the council, we will end up with 1 or more, we hope, interested council members that would like to be council president to fill out the existing term, which will expire in January. So this would be essentially about a two and a half month position because we will do it again in January. So this is just filling out the rest of the existing council president term. So it could be either I nominate so-and-so, it could be I have interest, and here's why I think in the past there was a little bit of here's why I'm interested and here I'd like to do, here's what I would like to do and why I'd like to be council president. At the conclusion of that, however many people we have, that will be ballot number 1, and we will start from there to narrow it down to one preferred candidate to be the council president.
And could you clarify for us this evening as to, I know it's a majority of the council, is that 4 or 5 for this particular?
It will be on the last ballot because we have 7 council members to vote. It will just be majority. So we have in the past, because we had 8 council members voting. I think we went with 5 was the majority at that point in time. But since we have 7, if it's a 4-3, 4 wins the day.
Thank you.
But this is, again, this is how the council would like to do that. That is just our belief of how it should work. If council wants it to be a 7-0 vote, we will facilitate that till we have a 7-0 vote. Our suggestion is just, once we have it down to 2, majority wins.
Does anyone have anything they'd like? I mean, my personal belief is that a majority vote wins. At this time, it would be at least 4. Is that if I could get kind of a confirmation from people, it looks like we're getting mostly head nods, that would be the way to go. Yes, Mr.
With
DeBoer.
Mr. Silvers being remote, how does that work?
Sure,
Since we are filling out cards, how is that going to work?
absolutely, great question. We probably should have brought that up. We have worked, before this meeting, we worked to coordinate with Mr. Silver so that he can text Julie. So as we write down on our cards, I will collect the cards and hand them to the clerk so that she can tally the votes for as many rounds as we need to. Each one of those, I believe Mr. Silvers is using his wife's phone, I think, so he could actually be on a phone and text her at the same time. But they have worked that out beforehand so that he's listening to our conversation now. He will know who is on the ballot, and he can text his preference so we can document it. Great question. I apologize for not bringing that up.
Thank you. Before we vote, I would just like to say that as being a council president and having an opportunity to work closely with the mayor and with Mr. Engel over the past couple of years, it is a very important position because, and I would, I guess, ask that those council people that are making your votes itself, that you take that into consideration as you cast your vote, because that person actually would fill in for the mayor in the event that the mayor is gone or becomes incapacitated or for whatever reason, hopefully not get hit by a bus or something, that they would take over the duties of the mayor. As well as attend a lot of the city functions. They represent the city, and whether it be a Arbor Day or a new business that's opening up and a ribbon cutting ceremonies or attending parties in the park, or there are a lot of different functions that really it's nice to have that council president there attending those functions and representing the city and also representing the mayor in the event that they cannot be there at that event. So it is important. This, I think, is a good process itself, and I would turn it over to maybe, I'd turn it back over to you, Mr. Engel, turn it over to our Madam Clerk to conduct it.
I'm happy to facilitate it from there if there's no other questions. So I guess we would start, if we want to follow that process, the first one would be anyone that wants to nominate someone or wants to indicate interest themselves. And I guess I'll let the mayor facilitate the information flow.
Mr. DeBoll, let's see your hands up.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate Ms. Hands for that position. I think her past leadership, and she has been president in the past, and with the importance that the mayor just pointed out, she has run meetings in the past. Obviously, she's familiar with the processes and just her past knowledge and experience on the board or on the council. I believe she would be the best for that position.
Okay, we have a nomination. I assume that, Ms. Hands, that you will accept that nomination?
I do accept that nomination.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other nominations? Or my belief is that if you're just interested in that position, that you could just speak up and not have to be nominated
Absolutely.
by
If
an
there's someone on
individual.
council that's interested in the position.
Anyone else that would be interested in putting their name in that hat, please speak up now. Okay, Ms. Yadrich.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, I'm interested in running for council president. I think I bring a good mix of skills and qualities to the dais. I'm new enough that I'm still learning, so I can empathize with new members who are coming in to serve their term. But I'm experienced enough to understand the dynamics of the council, our relationship with staff, how to best cooperate together and serve and support the council as a whole. I also have a forward-facing and engaging transparent communications platform with our community on social media, which is a very useful tool. It's accessible for a council president. I have the support and flexibility from my family and my full-time employer to attend any and all events that the position requires. And so I think I will provide a good balance of perspectives and build a stable bridge between the more experienced council members and the new council members in our community.
Thank you, Ms. Yadrich. Is anyone else interested in that position?
Well,
I would also, hold on just a moment, Ms. Hands, because I'm going to give you an opportunity to also make a speech
Okay,
in
thank
reference
you.
to that. So, is there any other people that would like to put their name in the hat at this point? Okay, well, we have two excellent candidates. Ms. Hands, would you like to explain why you think you would be the best person for this job?
I think that I would be the best to be backup mayor, because that's what this really is about. Because with having a new mayor, we have a lot of opportunities for everybody to be learning at the same time. I have sat through many meetings that are not always peaceful, like we experienced a little bit of a bump this morning, or earlier this evening. I know that I show up. This is a volunteer position, but it is very important, and I really would love to go ahead and do it.
Okay, hearing no other people coming forward and requesting this position itself, I would turn it over to Mr. Engel here to conduct the voting process.
Sure, so we have two people that are on the ballot, which should make this easy because it'll just be one round. So you should have an index card in front of you. Is there a color that we care what color they use, Julie?
It doesn't matter on the colors.
So please, there is one of two, well, there's two names that are going to be on that. You please put your name as the voter at the top of it, and then you will vote for either Councilmember Yadrich or Councilmember Hands, and I will come around and collect those and give those to the city clerk.
Just as clarification for the audience, the mayor does not vote on this, so that is entirely up to the council to select their council president.
So, Julie, when you get his texts, will you make sure you print his texts out later so we have a record of
Yes.
Councilman Silver's vote?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we have the voting results. I have 6 votes for Christine Hands and 1 vote for Whitney Yodrich. So it looks like Christine Hands would be our council president.
Okay, congratulations, Councilmember Hands.
Just as a footnote to that, Mr. Diebold will remain the vice president. That does not change, so.
We appreciate that, Mr. Ball. Thank you, Mr. Ball, we're remaining the vice. Okay, well, moving on to council items, evidently the next item up to talk about this evening is consider the approval of an honorary renaming of 62nd Street between the police station and the Merriam Hall as Ken Sissom Way, and I'll turn that over to Mr. Engel to talk about that.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Next item on the agenda is to consider approval of the honorary renaming of 62nd Street, right out between our 2 parking lots here, between the police department and City Hall, as honorary Ken Sissom Way. As you are all aware, Mayor Sissom resigned after over 12 years on October 31st, elevating Councilmember Pape to now Mayor Pape. He's the 2nd longest serving mayor in Merriam history. Previous to him being mayor, he was the former police chief. So in approximately 40 years of service to the city, he's done much to what I consider to be bridge the gap between police department and city hall, between staff and the elected officials, and as a nice gesture to him, and I think deservingly so, we would recommend that we rename that section of 62nd Street as Ken Sissom Way. We do not have a policy for honorary renaming. Because it's an honorary renaming, we will retain our addresses on 62nd Street, the police department and city hall, so it will not show up as an address on Ken Sissom Way, other than that it will be marked at the street as Ken Sissom Way. We felt that was also appropriate, and we believe that would be what he would want, as frugal as he was about, and having been around enough times and had enough addresses without moving locations, and that would be most appropriate. So again, staff believes that very appropriate. Staff, in full disclosure, has had some conversations amongst itself and believe that that's a nice gesture for Mayor Sissom. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Ms. Hans, is that a question, or are you thinking moving on?
I was going to make a comment that it was quite delightful to see how surprised he was at his retirement when we when you gave him the sign. He really seemed to really enjoy that.
Any other questions for Mr. Engel? With that, I would entertain a motion that we move forward. Ms. Yodrich.
Mr. Mayor, I move the council approve the honorary renaming of West 62nd Street between the police station and City Hall as Ken Sissom Way.
And a second, Mr. Neal.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Councilmember Hands.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Naff.
Aye.
Councilmember Neal.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Yodrich.
Aye.
Councilmember DeBold.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Looks like next item on the agenda, or the council items, is consider approval of resolution setting a public hearing date of December 13, 2021, to consider amending the I-35 redevelopment district. Director Dyer, would you like to, I assume you're addressing this, you're at the podium.
Yes, I am, Mayor. Just 1 second here. Let me get this. See it. There we go. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Brian Dyer, Community Development Director. This evening, you're being asked to approve a resolution establishing December 13th as the date for the public hearing to consider amending the I-35 redevelopment district. That is what you see up here before you this evening, just to get you a little familiar with what we're talking about. The amendment that's that will be considered simply adding a new project plan area to the I-35 redevelopment district. Just real briefly, within the district, there are redevelopment areas inside the district. So the district here is what you see up on the screen is the shaded in area with the addition of the Kmart property that you see over there in Area M. So within the I-35 district, to do any kind of TIF financing, we also have to do project plans. So what the amendment to be considered at the December 13 meeting will be to add in project plan in. You may have just seen it pop up right here. Just a little bit of background on what that's all about. We have received a tax increment financing application, a TIF application from Block and Company for the redevelopment of 8800 Cheyenne Mission Parkway. It's a Taco Bell property. They are requesting some assistance in TIF financing for some extraordinary costs they're going to have associated with redeveloping that property. What they've indicated to us is that they plan to demolish the building, and also they have to do some significant regrading and stormwater mitigation on the property for the and then right now they are currently indicating they plan to build back a new restaurant on that piece of ground. So again, kind of the first step in the whole process is do the hearing to do the amendment to the TIF district plan, to the TIF district to add a new project plan area. The next piece or the next step in the process will then be for the council to later on, we think probably in January, the way the timeline is lining up, to consider approval of a project plan. That's where we get more specific about what we're going to do within that project plan area. So it'll be a more specific document as to what's going to happen within, as well as the redevelopment agreement that that we typically have with the developers, and then also any of the zoning that needs to occur with the project as well. So again, this evening, just being asked to consider approving December 13th as the date for the public hearing. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Neal, go ahead.
What, since Block is the developer, what is the status of the back tax situation on the Kmart property that they also own?
I don't believe they have paid those. They have paid the property tax on the property 8800 Cheyenne Mission Parkway though. But I do not believe, I haven't looked recently, but I do not believe, last time I looked, I hadn't owned the Kmart property.
Do you know approximately what amount they're going to ask for in terms of extraordinary cost reimbursement?
Sure. What they've indicated to us in their application is $300,000.
And what's the amount of back taxes that's owed on the Kmart property?
I do not know offhand.
Well, I'm sorry.
Ballpark would be $450,000.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions from the council for Mr. Dow? Okay. Hearing that there are no other questions, I would call for a motion. Ms. Hands.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council approve a resolution setting a public hearing date of December 13th, 2021 to consider amending the I-35 redevelopment district.
Call for a second. Ms. Shadrick?
Mr. Mayor, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Nath.
Aye.
Councilmember Neal.
This is difficult for me. At this point, my vote probably won't matter, but I think we should send a message that, there needs to be some consideration for the other properties that are controlled and in Merriam. And so I'm going to vote no.
Councilmember Silvers.
I am going to have to agree with Dave and vote nay.
Councilmember Yodridge.
I agree with the sentiment that council members Neal and Silvers have, though considering this is just for a public hearing date and we still have opportunities to discuss it, I'll vote yes.
Councilmember DeBold.
Aye.
Councilmember Hand.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-2.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes 5-2. Moving on, and that is, as it was indicated, that this is just so that we can have that hearing on December 13th itself, that public meeting. Looks like our next speaker is up. Director McDonald, can you give us a CIP update?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. I have your November CIP update. We have some projects that are finishing up and one new one that we're starting soon. Our 2021 Street Improvement Program, which was our East Frontage Road, 67th Street to 75th Street Cars Project, our 2021 Mill and Overlay Program, along with our Sidewalk Maintenance and Repair Program. That project is completed. All punch list items have been addressed. The next council meeting, I will be requesting approval for final payment on that entire project. The next one that was finished was the West Vernon Place preliminary engineering study. BHC has completed the study, and they provided staff with several improvement options. We're going to discuss the placement of this project during our 5-year CIP plan early next year. And then I didn't move that, did I? There you go. Then the last one is the miscellaneous storm pipelinings. Those locations are Antioch from 69th to 70th Terrace, Knox Avenue, 53rd, approximately 290 feet, and 53rd Street east of Hayes. All that is failing corrugated metal pipe. We are currently working with our contractor, which is Municipal Pipe Tool, on notice to proceed for that project. They're likely to begin late November. That contractor has 60 days from the notice to proceed to complete the project. So I'm happy to answer any questions on any of these items that you may have.
Yeah, I do have a question, Director McDonald. Is that inclement weather, will that, have any bearing on when they're able to complete that process?
They cannot line it when it's raining, or as long as there's not snow inside the pipes, but they heat that up when they put it in there, so they believe they won't have any issues getting that done if they start in November and being done by January. They're one of the few that they can work year round. So.
Awesome, thank you. Any other questions for Director McDonald? Wow, looks like that was pretty quick. Thank you. Moving on, it looks like we're up to staff items. Mr. Engel.
The only item I had was another economic development update to let the council know that the conversations we were having with Drake Development on the Kmart site are no longer occurring. They have formally withdrawn their interest in the site, although they have interest in coming back at a future date with some sort of different project. The underlying business agreements that they were working on just weren't going to work out for them. So that is we assume we're going to start that project and that process all over again. We've made it very clear to them that we won't be picking this up with any of the current negotiations or the current council, as we will have a new council by the time we start all this. So they understand that whatever they come forward with, we're going to start at square one and work our way back up to whatever it ends up being.
Okay, thank you for that update.
I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Okay, could you reiterate the Council of Mayors luncheon or event that's coming up? Have people reached out to you for that, or I just want to make sure everybody's got that word
No
out.
one's reached out to me. I think I put Julie on it.
Yes, I have 2 council members that have RSVP'd for it's the Johnson and Wyandotte County Mayor's Holiday Social. Okay. And the deadline is
November 8th.
November 11th,
11th, okay.
to send me your RSVPs if you'd like to attend.
Yes. And that's where city administrator and any of the council is they would like to see you attend. So reach out to Julie and get your registrations by November 11th if that's something you'd like to do, and get to meet some of our counterparts in the other cities.
And if we're promoting events, we also still have 2 seats available for the Chamber Gala on November 20th at the OP Marriott. So we have 2 seats that are available. I believe it's 2 that we have. We would extend that invite to council members and their +1 individual council members, incoming council members. The table's paid for. We have 2 empty chairs.
Thank you for that update. Okay, any other questions for Mr. Engel? Okay. All right, and I assume we have no executive sessions this evening?
We do not.
Okay. Well, at this point, then, I think I would entertain a motion for adjournment. Ms. Hands?
I'd be happy to make a motion. I do.
We have a motion for adjournment, a second?
I'd be happy to second that.
Okay, a motion and a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Meeting's adjourned.